Yo, Inca, you want to come out here? Hello. I didn't record a draft analysis, so you're gonna get it with this first video. This is the Seoul Dew Association. I'm pretty sure the SDA. I think this is one of the few leagues I actually have not participated in ever. But they had a person drop out, so I'm here, your boy, Incog, and the Backs of the Future are back. So we had a different team, but because we joined during the grace period portion, we could switch up our entire team, which is on the left-hand side. And I think we did a pretty good job, honestly. Now, funny enough, what ends up happening here is that while I have Pokerogue on my other thing, let me turn that off. What ends up happening here is that we are going to be participating in a league that requires us to have Terra Captains, and I think it's Terra Preview as well. So we drafted a really fun team. This is the Latios Beta division, I think. I'm pretty sure it is. Because there's like La Alpha, and then I guess there's a beta division for this, which is cool. I mean, I was just joining just because like they needed a fill-in, and you know, I can make transactions. So from what the team originally had, it seemed like it had Roaring Moon and Amorous, Heatran, Sinistcha, Toxapex. So we changed up a lot. And, you know, apparently he had originally had Rotom Wash, dropped it in Grace Period, then dropped, and then I repicked up Rotom Wash, which is funny. So let's talk about what's happening. So, let's do a proper intro now that I've gotten 2 minutes deep. How's it going on, everybody? It's your boy Incog back at it again with another draft week video, and we, your Backs of the Future, are here for week 1 of the SDA. This is your draft on the left side, while our opponent's draft is on the right side. Our team during week 1 is fighting Lazy Boy, and I forgot their team name actually, which generally I usually have that stuff down pat, but I guess I fucking don't. Let's go to here. I don't know how I didn't have that already. I thought I did. I guess not. It is the Sleepy Laxingtons. So yeah, that is the team name. I haven't heard of a lot of these coaches, which is actually good, so I can actually see what they do, see their content, subscribe to all of them, and then, you know, really see what's going on this season. Because honestly, I like to make sure that I support people who are a part of any of the draft leagues that I'm a part of, unless you are like weird or something. But anywho, Lazy Boy has this very, very good team, honestly, that actually made prep a little bit funny this week. I can't lie to you there. Let's talk about it. So our team on the left is Roaring Moon and Amorous Incarnate, Heatran, Terra Keldeo, Rotom Wash, Sinistcha, Toxapex, Uxie, Terra Houndstone, and Terra Vigoroth, while our opponent's team is Iron Valiant, Terra Petulant, Hammerot, Latios, Excadrill, Moltres, Rotom Mow, Terra Snorlax, Lycanroc, and Ariados. So, going over some notes that I wrote down here. Terra Water Snorlax is very fucked into me because my electric attacker is a special attacker, and honestly, if it's Curse Terra Water Lax, that's pretty much GG's at that point. In addition to that, I think Petulant definitely shows up. It might not Terra. I think that the ability to have such good special mons like an Amorous, Heatran, Keldeo, and also like Rotom Wash really does encourage it to not show up, and having a great dark type in Roaring Moon that banded could definitely do a lot of damage here. It's very good as well. With their team, they definitely bring Iron Valiant. I think Iron Valiant's really good into my team. I think Samurott can be very good into my team. I think Latios definitely could be very good in my team. There's a lot of my defensive walls. Definitely don't want to see it start setting up, and they can't do much outside of Haze on something like Toxapex, having to Encore with Uxie. And even then, it becomes very much a mind game of how to go about stopping certain mons. Drill definitely would be Mold Breaker, if anything else, this week to get under Rotom Wash and kill that. which we have a thing for that, and also that would be good for Earthquake and I guess Uxie as well as getting around Fluffy Houndstone. So definitely feel like it comes this week. Moltres does not feel like it comes this week with triple water, and the advantage of having Terra Keldeo could definitely make it so that it never existed in this lifetime. I think that Rotom Mow and Snorlax definitely come this game. Rotom Mow is a really good pivot on my own Rotom Wash, as well as Keldeo. And just in general, being able to Volt Switch out or burn something like Roaring Moon in case I ever get too lazy can definitely work out. Terra Water Lax is very good, like I mentioned earlier. Curse Lax especially, this game looks very fucked up, so you have to be very careful. Not a big fan of Ariados this week, but I mean, it could definitely still show up. My team isn't exactly speed heavy or speed lacking in that regard. It definitely has better speed tiers than I ever noticed. At least decent speed tiers. Speed tiers I like. But it could definitely show up this week. And then Lycanroc, I mean, it's a good rock type. Gets up rocks, can Endeavor. I mean, it's cool. I don't really imagine it coming as much. So we have Iron Valiant, Pecharunt, Samurott, Excadrill, Moltres, or if we don't see Moltres, then we see Drill, Rotom Mow, and Snorlax. I think the alternate would be Latios in this case if we don't definitively see Pecharunt, or if my opponent decides to, for some reason, go Moltres, Latios instead of Excadrill and still brings Rotom Mow and Snorlax. So with my team, I think this is a really easy team. Personally, though, I definitely think the EVs were definitely a little bit harder for me to think of. But let me close up this tab and let's move here. Oh wait, wrong thing. There we go. Okay. So we back. I also have been playing other tiers. Do not worry about this. I'll make a video on one of these, and I'm not sure which one yet. But we'll get there. Okay. I've been working. It's gonna be busy season. It's definitely gonna be very rough to make a video or record on the weekends when I'm fucking tired as shit. So, we have this Giraffe League team special. So, of course, we have Calamaria, we have Stark, Keldeont, Passments, Double Cup, and our final Pokemon being Brotom, as you can see the items here, as it is slowly scrolling up and down on your screen. With this team, I aim to win either with cleaning up with Roaring Moon, Calm Mind Keldeo, or just in general being able to break down this team bit by bit with each of my mons individually, trying to make sure that I can counter up what I can. Now, that being said, let's talk. So this could have been Superpower, but then I realized that getting burned on this mon versus Moltres is definitely a net negative, and getting burned in general on Rotom Mow would definitely be a net negative, so we had to be very careful there. But any drops from Spirit Break or a defense drop of like Razor Shell or any other move for that matter, even like Parting Shot on like Pecharunt, is definitely better for us to avoid that. So by making this set, we definitively have decided to go about this a different way. Sorry, my mic, I don't know if it's positioned wrong, but I always sound quiet on my recordings and then I have to turn myself up a lot, and I don't like that. Anywho, besides that, moot point. Enamorous. 152 HP, 136 special attack, 220 speed. 303 beats out Excadrill. Helmet, which we'll get to why later. We have Moonblast, Earth Power, Taunt, and Mystical Fire. Hits everything on this team that we need to hit, and Taunt's really good for if we're in front of Snorlax for any amount of reason. If it's Terra Water, it's fine. We can just start Moonblasting it down while it goes for Body Slams or Terra Blast. But Taunt specifically is really good for something like Pecharunt. Obviously, it's probably just gonna click Malignant Chain, but if it's low enough, then Earth Power should be able to take care of it, or at least do a good chunk to it. So we're not really in a bad spot there, just getting damage-wise. Outside of that, getting damage on Rotom Mow with Mystical Fire is really good. Moonblast on Hisuian Samurott, and just in general, really good mon here. So I'm going to talk about this mon in tandem with Roaring Moon, and I will talk about this later. Also, because I'm only bringing one Terramon, all my mons on this team are technically Terra Stellar besides Keldeo, and we'll get to that. But really good mon here, really good just in general coverage, as well as just a really fun Pokemon this week, I can't lie to you. But we'll talk more about that later. Now, we have Stark Mountain. We have the Clear Amulet with Flash Fire. Originally, I wanted to do Flame Body, but then I was like, there's a chance of Moltres, and obviously I don't want to be there when it's there. You know, I don't want to be too much of an idiot. Speed is for Moltres. That is 12 speed. So 12 speed would be 219. We creep that by 2. We could always go up a little bit more. We don't really have to, but we can. But 124, 252 special attack, and 132 in HP. Flamethrower, Will-O-Wisp, Power Gem, and Earth Power. Essentially, this is our first of many technical Pecharunt checks. Oh no, why do I say that? It can't Parting Shot on this if it were to be 1 versus 1, or well, 1 versus 2, and it's trying to get out easier to lower my stats for potentially, like, let's say Iron Valiant's in the back for any amount of reason, or like, not Iron Valiant, but let's say for reasons that we don't understand. Snorlax is the Mon that wants the Terra, but Pecharunt maybe wants the Terra as well. If it wants to get into Snorlax with Thick Fat to better take attacks, and it wants to go for Parting Shots, our Earth Power will do enough to force this Mon to just hard pivot, and it cannot Parting Shot us, so we can Earth Power into Flamethrower. If it has no speed, it will die in 2 shots, because the Parting Shot does not matter, again. Now, depending on the Terra and the Pecharunt, that very much does come down to what it could be. I'm thinking we either keep Will-O-Wisp or we go at Taunt. This Mon is a very much Will-O-Wisp or Taunt as its last move. Like, Earth Power, I think, is great for the Pecharunt into Flamethrower, because, funny enough, Flamethrower isn't exactly a 2-hit KO against that thing. Or at least something. Yeah, I think it's Pecharunt if it's max HP. But Earth Power is. So we can Earth Power twice, we can Earth Power into Flamethrower, anything else like that. So it's really, really good here. Taunt-wise, in terms of over Will-O-Wisp, realistically, we're not bringing a Steel move for, obviously, the Gosh darn, the Iron Valiant. So, I mean, like, we could do that, but I was like, we're probably not going to stand on that thing anyway, so it doesn't really matter as much. And, like, it could be Scarf Valiant, which at that point, like, sure, nigga. But I think that we had more so... We kind of like Will-O-Wisp, but then it's like if it's Terrifier like Snorlax, that's really bad for my opponent, because look at my team. But I think they go Terra Water like I mentioned earlier, so Will-O-Wisp is actually like good for the situation. They get off 1 curse, and then I go into another Pokemon, and then they might get off a second or just attack, because a lot of my team does resist Terra Blast, and the mons that don't resist Terra Blast, or maybe even like Sinistro, while it does resist the Terra Blast water, isn't affected by Body Slam, you know what I mean? Wouldn't care about that too much. But, you know, Heatran does its job well. And that's the real point of that. It's supposed to. Outpaces things that have no speed like Moltres, and anything below that. 221 would technically put us over on like Ariados, because Ariados hits like 196, I'm pretty sure, if it's like max speed for any amount of reason, which I don't believe it will be here in the first place, but hey, that's okay. We don't know yet. Though we could have brought like sub Heatran for Elite Ariados, but I'm not a believer in that Mon, I can't lie to you. Anyways, I've talked too much about Stark. Let's talk about Keldeo. So we're Terra Fairy this week. We were Terra Electric at first, and then I was like, there's a drill, and if I can't get off enough damage, or if I don't kill it, that's bad. But we're also part fighting, Avery, so it doesn't really matter. Terra Blast, Calm Mind, Secret Sword, Surf. 112 speed for the max speed Moltres, which really don't need Outpace, but it would be preferable. The 140 in Spadef is because after a +1 boost, unless it is Psyshock Latios, we should be able to eat that Psychic or Mist Ball, but we would hope it's Psychic because Mist Ball will lower a special attack. Outside of that, Calm Mind's really good here and just in general. And with 3 moves, it's pretty easy to slot in and out. If it is Special Valiant for any amount of reason and it goes for its own Moonblast, after a +1 boost, unless it's like Specs or something crazy, we should be fine. But even then, we're Terra Fairy, so it really doesn't matter. You know, we'll make it work with what we have. Obviously, Pecharunt can definitely sit in front of this thing if we don't have any boost, and it happens to be a Spadef Pecharunt for some reason. But Calm Minds are going to be really good here, I would say. So we will be fine. Now, let's talk about what's in tandem with Enamorus, since I spoke so much of Stark and spoke so little of Keldeo, because I feel like one's obvious and one's not too obvious. So, Samurott, or at least Hisuian Samurott in this case, usually is a good lead off, and I feel like Ariados does that too. But the problem for my team is that while I do have a grounded poison, it's not great this week. So I have to be very careful with what I think comes, right? Now, the other thing is that Hammerot is there and Ariados, my real choice is Roaring Moon, right? Because if Samurott does lead, I get off a U-turn. It either dies and I go into whatever I want, or if it lives, it will live at such a percentage that it going for its, what's the move? Ceaseless Edge, it will die in front of Enamorus, which will tell them I'm Rocky Helmet, but doesn't really tell them much else. I don't need to be defensive. I don't really need to do anything, right? And they can go hard into Drill. I get off a really fat chunk on Drill while damn near losing my Enamorus, but the exchange is very good for me. If it's Ariados and we see no Hisuian Samurott, that makes things a little bit different. We can go for knockoff into their sticky web and go for another knockoff and stuff like that. Or we can just go for our U-turn, get off a good chunk of damage, and then go still into Enamorus and go for Mystical Fire on something like, I don't fucking know, like a Moltres switching in for some reason, or go for Earth Power just because we get, like, there's, all I'm saying is that Roaring Moon is our lead, and I usually like to slot my leads into a different slot. Now, I'm saying this now for the people who will watch this video inevitably and be like, oh, he really does do that? And then when I don't do it one week, it'll be very funny. Because I'm very bad about having assigned leads. So I try to have them more often, but sometimes I don't. But for this matchup, I do. This outpaces Iron Valiant, of course, and the band is pretty much there. Very self-explanatory. If Moltres is not here, knockoff is very spammable into this team. If Moltres happens to be here, we do need to make sure we can catch it lacking, or we're going to get burned on U-turn, because it always happens that way, so we just have to be very careful with how we play around this mon. Otherwise, very easy mon to understand. You know, fun to play with, not to eat, you know what I mean? Anyways, we got Double Cup, you know, Lean Boys, we got that Lean on deck. Heat Proof Sinistra. Plot, Matcha Gotcha, Shadow Ball, and Strength Sap. This is your Spidef wall for Rotom-Mo. And because we don't do a lot of damage to Rotom-Mo in general, our nasty plotting will make this a lot easier on us. We're heat proof for Moltres. Obviously, you can just go for, Hurricane and Air Slash, but, you know, we, if it's not there, this mon will be able to absorb hits from Rotom-Mo. Obviously, going for its Volt Switch would be definitely not great to go into Moltres afterwards, but if we get off that Shadow Ball damage, we can check damage a little bit. If we get off the Nasty Plot, and then, like, Moltres happens to miss Hurricane for some reason, or if it's Mystical Fire, that's also fine. We'll still be at +1 off of the Mystical Fire. But if it misses Hurricane, I mean, that's not on me, you know what I mean? Now that I've looked at this a little bit, don't you get Calm Mind? Yeah. Anyways, Calm Mind. Makes this Pokemon very hard to break. We technically don't even need the 204 Spidef. I made this like a 5-hit KO basically against Rotom. We could put this all in defense and make it better against like Hisuian Samurott, but like I don't really care about that mon this week. I can't lie to you, but edits can always happen like they usually do on my channel, so be aware of that. Last but certainly not least, we got Brotom, Hydro Pump, Will-O-Wisp, Volt Switch, Pain Split. Very much the extra drill answer by negating Mold Breaker with Ability Shield. We kill this with the 36 investment with Hydro Pump, and that's pretty much it. Outside of that, we can Pain Split Snorlax going for damage against us. We can Will-O-Wisp it as well, and do that to other mons, and that's really all this is here for. It's a great Fizz Def check, unless it's like SD Iron Valiant, then we're kind of FUCK'd. But if it hasn't boosted, if it's Swords Dance booster speed, we're fucked. I think that much is certain, but that is the worst possible option for this game. That's the only thing I think I definitively lose to, because I'm not bringing Houndstone, and I'm definitely not bringing like Uxie as a defensive wall or Toxapex unexpectedly. I think Toxapex is not great this match. I think that a lot of spam comes in my way, and Toxapex doesn't want to do that. Otherwise, I would have brought like an Infestation Toxic Spike set. I'm not gonna lie to you. And then, well, even then, probably just Infestation, Protect, or Baneful Bunker into, like, other moves, but you don't need to hear about that right now. Houndstone definitely was my 7th member here. I feel like, despite Excadrill being as prominent as it is, Houndstone is still a really good defensive menace. We could have brought something like Terra Steel for Iron Valiant, but then that's kind of like, if it randomly, since we have to tell our opponent what our Terras are, it definitely leads them into a 50-50 mind game against me, and I don't want to have that all the time. This would also help against Snorlax as well, depending on if we're running Body Press or something of that nature, just to be better in front of that. But I just think that with a good Dark type and a good Ghost type, Houndstone isn't the greatest, and I don't want to have to play such a defensive game. I would like to play an offensive game first, and then see if I can maneuver in a way where I can still keep offense while playing as little defense as possible. Because that's the objective of trying to play a little bit of balance. But otherwise, should we lose this game, we'll probably switch more into a hyper offense sort of mode. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, I've ranted and raved for probably over like 20 minutes at this rate. Let's hope we have a good game against Lazy Boy and their, what is it, Sleepy Laxingtons. That's their name. I'll try to keep that going each week where I just know their names without having to look at my other screen. Thank you for watching, and let's get into the battle, because this is going to be a long video, I assume. Okay, so I'm recording this part after the fact because, unfortunately, when I recorded this initially, every audio track was together, not separate. Only for the battle portion, so, I mean, I don't know what happened. I hate doing post-commentary because regular commentary is more interesting, personally, but this is my own footage. This is going to be for my Switch 1. I had to play up until I got the orb in my Pokemon Violet so I could Terra my Keldeo, which actually might have mattered. But let's talk about it, shall we? Your RESOLUTE team builder, which probably took forever there. But just briefly, the team that we fought, which I probably went over in the video, but you know how it is. Let's see here, Avery. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this off correctly. So, presumptuously, I am going to lead off with my Roaring Moon and get my shit together and do my thing. And my first initial thoughts are definitely to lead off with that and then to scout if there is Moltres, and Latios is pretty bad, and then, you know, Curse-Lax and Drill. So, what do we see from my opponent? So first and foremost, I'll be pausing this intermittently. So we do see the Iron Valiant, the Pecharunt, which can Terra, the Excadrill, the Rotomo, the Hisuian Samurott, and the Snorlax. Before the game started, my opponent had told me that they are Terra Water on their, I want to say their Snorlax, which I can confirm via DMs right now since I'm doing post-com. Wow, isn't that great? Don't you just love having to do post-com when your audio messes up? Anywho, Terra Poison Snorlax and Terra Fairy Pecharunt. Sorry, I said water for some reason. I was expecting water, but I definitely knew that one of these mons would be here. I was not expecting Pecharunt. I was expecting Latios, and realistically, I maybe even was expecting Moltres over Pecharunt. So, this is a pretty good 5 out of 6. So, beginning off here, I basically am just like, well, what do I think will happen? So, I decide, well, I'm writing down the mons, and I'm like, well, how can I make this easier on myself in the long term? And the real strategy is to either win with Ments at the end, or I say Ments, but Roaring Moon at the end, or we use Keldeo a little bit and see if we can get some leg room in there. But my opponent's team is fairly defensive. At least it has a lot of good answers to my defensive walls, or at least my offense. They have a lot of answers with their defense. And for their defense, or their offense, I have a lot of answers for them as well. But mine are a little bit less great. So, we start off the battle here. They start off with the Rotomo, and immediately I'm like, well, I can just U-turn this. Like, this isn't a big deal. Like, why am I thinking about it? But then I was like, do I want to switch out? I'm like, nah, I'll just U-turn. They do take a little bit of time to think here, which also was like, is this like a bait and switch? Am I going to get like fucked over? Is there something I'm missing here? Is this like eject button or something? I don't know. I just thought U-turn would be a good turn here, you know? No pun intended. But as you'll soon see, it is Scarf Rotom-Mow, and I would like to say, spoiler alert, there are 2 Scarfers on this team. So we do hit the Rotom-Mow for pretty much like 48%, which is really good, but then I'm like, damn, that kind of ruins things. So I kind of have to play a little bit better. I go into Stark, full well knowing that Flamethrower or Taunt is better here. But with their team composition, I was like, well, if I go for Flamethrower, it'd be fine, honestly. I was checking if I had an EVs on Roaring Moon there. But I decided, I'm like, well, do I double out? Do I just Flamethrower here? You know, what is it that I want to do? So I decided to go into Keldeo because they are going to be switching out as well. And they wouldn't just go for a second Will-O-Wisp, clearly, because they're Scarf. And I can be Flash Fire. So they go into Snorlax. And I go into Keldeo. So this is my opportunity to force out their Terra, which is very important here. So now I'm like, damn, I don't really want to do that because this could end up really bad for me. But I'm like, wait a minute. I'm black. I could just Calm Mind here, honestly, and, you know, do my thing. Or I can Secret Sword. But I decided to Calm Mind because they are forced into a Terra situation or they are hard pivoting back out into Rotom. And even worse, if they're Booster Speed Valiant, they would have to go into that and then kill us. So, they Terra. And here we get into some turns where, you know, definitely played better than I had hoped. So I get up my Calm Mind, dig off their Curse, which obviously from the Team Builder, I was expecting here. I know I sound different every time I say other fucking words. I don't even know why I'm fucking shouting. 5 minutes deep and I'm realizing this. Anyways. We decided to go for Surf, essentially base, and they just go for their own, I believe, Body Slam or Facade here. Mostly because, like, that's the move that they have chosen. And as far as the set goes, their Rest Talk. No, their Recycle, Curse, I think Facade, and then I assume Terra Blast Poison or Crunch. I only assume Crunch because they can't touch Sinister, right? So it's very easy. And now that I'm speaking naturally, how's it going? So I'm just like, I don't know what they're going to fucking do. I got to Surf again, you know what I mean? And I'm planning out my next moves to go into Enamorous afterwards and then get out the right Helmet Chip and everything else like that. They eat the Papa Berry, which is very important here, as they go for their Recycle. I'm kind of like, oh, okay, that makes sense, you know what I mean? Why wouldn't you, you know? But at this point, I'm just like, okay, I'll just Surf again. They decided to switch out into, I believe, Rotom-Mow. Which doesn't even take really that much from this Surf, which is fine, despite it being at +1. It almost does die, so this is definitely more of a max HP, max speed sort of situation. I'm kind of on the back foot. I do know that I can just go into Heatran for the Volt Switch or something else of that nature, or I can go into Sinistra, excuse me. Heatran is just like max HP, or like a bunch of HP, a bunch of speed, and it's a special attack. My Spidef Wall is technically my Sinistra, so I can definitely go into that, or I can go into Heatran. It really doesn't matter. I decide, however, to go into Sinistra, which is an important key here, because they do end up going for the Volt Switch, which does unfortunately allow in, you know, Pecharunt or, you know, Hisuian Samurai. It really doesn't matter. So the idea here is to bait in the Pecharunt so that I can go into Heatran on their Parting Shot or their Poison move, and even on Parting Shot, then I get off my Earth Power. And then we know the plan kicks in. You know, we do a lot of damage to that thing, which is very important. But they decide to go into Hisuian Samurai, which is very telling. So I'm like, well, I died to Ceaseless Edge, I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's any chance for me to ever live that. But they could go for Flip Turn. They could go for Ceaseless Edge. You know, it really depends on what I'm thinking they want to go for. So I'm kind of like, well, I want a Strength Sap. I want a Machi Gotcha. At the end of the day, I think it's better for me to go for Strength Sap in case I end up living or something else happens. So they go for Flip Turn, which is actually fantastic because it definitely shows that they were going to switch out anyway. I feel like with my sort of team, I can make the hard aggressive switch out, and then they still get the momentum out of that, and then they get a free opportunity back into Snorlax or even into Excadrill. So you go into Pecharunt, I Strength Sap, I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm going to get my HP back, which is important. Not as important because we don't really use Sinistra this game. And at this point, I'm like, well, you're going to go for a poison move or you're going to go for Shadow Ball. Like, Heat Train can eat the attack a little bit better, just because it's not super effective. But also, if it's Party Shot, then we're fine. If it's a poison move, we're fine. You know, Heat Train does enough. So, with that being said, Heat Train's going to switch in a bit here. It's a little bit late here. Anyways, they go for Shadow Ball. They do a lot, honestly. I think this is the most damage. I was like 99. That's definitely invested. Like, dude, jeez. So at this point, I'm kind of like, do I just go for Earth Power? Do I go for Flamethrower? I can go for Earth Power because Snorlax can switch in. I can go for Flamethrower as well for burn chances, I guess. But they go right back into Rotom, which is unfortunate because then I go for my Earth Power here. The only unfortunate part here is that because I didn't go for Flamethrower and get the kill this time, they get an extra turn. So they could Volt Switch. I'm kind of like, I don't really care if you Volt Switch because honestly, it's not a big deal to me. So I go over my Flamethrower because I'm like, besides Snorlax, I don't really care who wants to switch in. Like Hisuian Samurott even is fine. They go for Trick and they give me the Choice Scarf, which is actually very important because now I outpace their entire team that isn't Iron Valiant, if it's booster speed, or even Iron Valiant in general, because I don't have a lot of speed. But I do outpace Petron, which is important. So it's kind of a precarious situation, and they're going to probably go into Hisuian Samurott is my assumption. And I'm kind of like, damn, I don't really like that decision. You know, I didn't like getting this, but I got to deal with it, you know what I mean? And they do indeed go into Hisuian Samurott, so I'm like, okay, well, I got to switch out. And I'm kind of like, damn, do I want to go into Rotom now? Do I want to go into Calamaria? And I'm kind of like, they can get off the Ceaseless Edge, but most of my mons are off the ground anyway, besides, like, Keldeo for the most part, and, like, what, Sinistea or Sinistra? I'm okay with that. So I decided to go into Calamaria to get out the Rocky Helmet chip, just because it'll show them that I'm there. They do indeed miss, and spoiler alert, this is the second of their Scarf Mons. So I decided to go for Moonblast because I'm kind of like, you're not staying in here anyway. But then I was like, do I want to go for Earth Power then? Because like Extra could switch in, but I'm like, I'm faster than it. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I go for Moonblast, do a good chunk. They do get their Yapapa back here by they get their Yapapa here. I go for Taunt because I'm like, I don't want to deal with you. And LOL, that's not happening. And then we get our benefits here. So we're going to go for Earth Powers here. This actually makes it very easy for me because they could have been the Terra Blast Poison, but as you will soon find out from the interaction, I go for my Earth Power and they go for Facade still, and whoops, I'm Rocky Helmet. You got to remember, this is a funny thing that I do here in this industry. So unfortunate that they take that chip, but it's actually very good for us, majorly in the case that a lot of the time what ends up happening is that I bring items that I don't necessarily get to use correctly, but they still get used, you know? But regardless, they're kind of like, damn, do I die, do I not die? And it's a roll. Not really the most in my favor, but it's a roll for them to die here, which is good. So we get rid of the threat that could have beat the shit out of my team with Recycle plus Curse, and we did Taunted earlier, which is amazing. So now it's like, damn, does Drill want to come in here? Is Petron coming in here? And it's Petron. Because I'm kind of like, whatever, dude. I will let you have this Mon in exchange for getting in Keldeo for free or getting in Roaring Moon with knockoff. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of have to make my concessions where I can. So I was like, all right, well, an Emrys can die. I don't really need it anymore. It's not a big deal. I could have gone for Mystical Fire, honestly, to weaken it, but I was like, whatever. We do lose an Emrys here, of course, which is fine. So we do end up going into, I'm pretty sure we go into Roaring Moon and we go for knockoff because we're kind of like, well, it's not going to want to stay in on us. And even if we're burned, I mean, still going to not want to take that hit. You know what I mean? So we're kind of like, whatever else switch in doesn't want to take knockoff, essentially. And this is true, by the way. Just because Drill doesn't want to lose its items, Hisuian Samurai doesn't want to lose its item. On a technical scale, I guess you could say, like, you know, Iron Valiant, if it's a different item that's not booster, doesn't want to lose its item. And then Hisuian Samurai loses its item, which is great for us because we're kind of like, okay, we can just pivot out again now and go into, like, Keldeo or anything else. Because I'm like, and then I was like, wait, can't I just start trying to win the game here? So going to Keldeo. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm a matcha nigga now. They do indeed double out into the Pecha run, which is unfortunate for us, but that also tells me, I'm like, wait a minute, you died of Surf. So I was like, okay, I'll just take this mod from you. So I take it, and it dies. Very easy game. And while we're getting back this leftovers, it's impertinent to understand as well, there's still an Iron Valiant lurking among us. Now the important part about this entire exchange is that I do not have a Calm Mind up. During the video, I had said, oh, I have a Calm Mind up, dude, what the fuck? And I was trying to think, do I counteract them by not tearing but going for Surf? Because they could have, like, I mean, I told them Terra Fairy, so they could be like, I don't know, Flash Cannon. I don't even know if this thing gets special moves like that. Well, fortunately for me, I did not peep that they were booster attack. And I still go over my Terra Fairy. They are booster attack poison jab, but thankfully, through my calculations, we live this hit all the time, and we kill Iron Valiant entirely. I thought during these last few turns I had up a Calm Mind. I did not. Keldeo's just hashtag like that, which is great. This turn is a little bit interesting, so I'm going to pause it here because I'm going to do this live for your entertainment. I'm not going to show you the screen, but I am going to do is I'm going to do this calc one more time because during the game, I had said, oh, this lives this hit, right? Most people would be like, oh, how could you get that wrong, Avery? And to those of you who say that, y'all know I am not that damn smart. I am just a guy who happens to play Mons, okay? So, really quickly, it is an Excadrill. How during God's time alive would it live? Is what you're probably thinking to yourself. So, I had calced somehow in some way, I don't know, I put max HP, and I was like, oh, I don't have investment for this, or like it's gonna live really well. And then I go back to my calc, and for some reason the calc is gone that told me it would live, and I go back to put in Keldeo, and apparently this thing just fucking falls over too. I considered going to Rotom here to flex, because I thought, oh, if it lives here, then it'll rapid spin, and that's not gonna be fun. No, it just dies. So yeah, I don't know what calc I was fucking looking at. It was an Assault Vest calc or some other calc. I don't fucking know. But what I do know is I was wrong. Regardless, this game ends up as 4 kills for Keldeo, 1 for Enamorus, and I'm pretty sure there's another one in there I'm missing. But I know it's definitely 4 kills for Keldeo and some other ones here and there. GG to Lazy Boy and their sleepy Laxingtons. This was definitely a game that I felt personally could have gone either way. I think, oh no, Heat Train got the other kill. But it was a really good debut for us in the SDA, Latios Beta Division, and as well, I think that this could have gone either way if Snorlax was allowed to do what it wanted, but because I was putting so much pressure on that Mon, it wasn't able to consistently like want to stay in, because then every time you go for a cycle, I can just go for Calm Mind, and then we're going, you know, back and forth, and now I'm overpowering the Iapapa Berry and just getting more and more damage as it goes on, and it wasn't doing as much damage as it could have been, and even at +1, it wasn't doing, it was only doing like what, 48% to 52% maybe as a regular calc, which is fine, but you know what I mean. It wasn't doing a whole lot, but overall, if Roaring Moon doesn't get burned that turn 1, I mean, it's a different game entirely, but there was no reason for me to guess that I was going to get burned. But next week, we play a very interesting team that I forgot the name of because I didn't freaking write it down, but I'm sure if I just go over here, it should say the Middletown Mimikyus, I want to say. I think that's the team name. I'm pretty sure that's the team name. I could be very wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the team name. They are, unfortunately, they don't have their first win on the season. As usual, we're going to try our best. They made some transactions before the deadline, it seems like, which changed their team, not dramatically, but definitely changed it a lot more. That made me have to really rethink some of my building, but regardless, for that team builder, when that comes out with the next video, it'll be a fun time. Once again, Thank you all for watching. If you guys like this, leave a like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, good night and good luck.